welcome back to Fast Politics, Jonathan Last.
Hey, Molly. We were on TV together the other
When
day.
was that?
Do you remember that? I don't know. It was like maybe it was Morning Joe or something, and I didn't realize that you were there. And they threw to you to ask me a question, and I was just like, "Hey, Molly, how you doing, friend?" And as soon as I did that, I realized, oh, this is outside the conventions. Like this is TV conventions, not internet conventions, because in the internet, you can have real conversations like that and acknowledge that, like, hey, we're friends and it's nice to see
Friend.
each other. But when you're on broadcast TV or cable TV, everybody has to pretend it's all very formal, and everybody's sort of, it's like sipping tea with your pinky extended.
Now, I disagree.
Oh,
Because I do a thing where I say, "Hi, da da da, it's Molly Jong-Fast." And it's so weird that people like it. So I do think, yes, there is very small room for deviation, but a little deviation goes a long way. Whereas in the real world, a little deviation is completely ignored by everyone.
fair.
So we've been thinking a lot about this idea of what an opposition movement would look like, an opposition party. And I think one of the biggest mistakes of Trump 2.0 was this sort of rejection of the things that worked in Trump 1.0, right? Massive protest movements are cringe, despite the fact that they actually worked, which is why nobody believed that Trump would do any of the stuff he said he was going to do, because the first time Democrats were able to prevent a lot of it. So you wrote this brilliant article, How to Think and Act Like a Dissent Movement. And this was the article Jesse was talking about. And it is, you write a number of brilliant articles, but this is exactly, you sort of take us through exactly what it should look like. So let's talk about what the first thing you say is like to see like a dissident. So talk to us about what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in America, we've got to totally reframe how we view politics. And the traditional mode of opposition, which is like, the Chuck Schumer view of things,
Hmm.
I just think that's not no longer operable. And I say in the piece, we should start thinking like Navalny, right? Navalny. Yeah, Navalny.
Navalny, yeah.
And
And you're talking about Russian dissident
yeah,
Alexander Navalny, who was murdered, though, by Russia.
yeah,
So
well,
that
that's the
part
problem,
didn't work
right?
out so well. Yeah.
Right. Didn't
But
work out so
otherwise,
well.
very good. Yeah.
Right. The idea being that you're waging sort of asymmetric warfare um, based on people power.
Yeah.
Because that's it. I mean, we've learned the institutions aren't going to protect us. The oligarchs aren't going to protect us. Big
Yeah.
corporations aren't going to protect us, right?
The
They're gonna
oligarchs
make their
really, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, go on.
They're all going to make their own accommodations,
Yeah.
and I mean, just you have to start demonstrating that there is a large mass of people who aren't going to go along with it, and that's the only remedy. That is sort of what popular resistance looks like. And you see this, look through the color revolutions,
Israel.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But go on. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, this is it, right? It's not like, oh, well, we'll get in the back room and cut some deals on the CR. Like I'm
Right.
sorry. That is the old world of thinking before we had armed federal agents just disappearing people on the streets in America.
Grad students, not even criminals, grad students,
Right.
which grad students are very annoying, but you still can't kidnap them.
Or actually you can,
Well, it
right? I
turns
mean,
out you
that's the
can.
thing, right? Turns out you can.
So let's talk about some of these ideas. Demonstrate political power in the provinces through large scale rallies.
Yeah. This is so, AOC and Bernie started this like what, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's very impressive. Now, look,
Yeah.
their politics are not my politics. That's fine. Um, but it is impressive. They are acting like things are different. And one of the things, again, just look at historical, look at what the Eastern European revolutions and how things worked in Ukraine and in Belarus before they went sideways. You got to go away from the capital. because that's where the autocrats are strongest in the capital cities, which for us are going to be DC and New York. Um,
Right.
and you gotta show that you can turn people out. You gotta bring
And
out, 20, 30,000 people, and then you gotta keep doing it. And as you do it, you've got to start organizing those people and turning those to lists that you can activate, not in fundraising. This is
right.
I
So
helped
you
my
don't
mother-in-law with her email, and I was on her computer sorting out her email the other day, and Act Blue had sent her like 30 different fundraising appeals from Mark Kelly based on his like Twitter fight with Elon Musk. And it made me angry. Like, I was like, "Why are you doing this? This
yeah.
is not, like, raise money off this stuff. Stop it. Stop it,
Yeah.
Act Blue."
Yeah.
And right, and this is because, again, that's politics as usual. That's the old politics where, like, "Oh, we just wanna bring in donations and, get your direct mail efforts high." No. These lists have to be protected like they are the knock list at CIA, and used to achieve actual political activation, not to raise money.
I think that's a really, 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 really good point. But I want to go back to this. Right, the Act Blue stuff doesn't serve anyone, as far as I can tell, and I'm not even sure how much money there is. I guess they do raise money off of it, but it's not. It doesn't serve this like protecting democracy. When you talk about these rallies in other places, that's a really important point, right? Like people rallying in swing states, in red states, to show that there's real opposition to this
Yeah.
and to show that it's real, right?
Yeah, you gotta show, and that's the only way to convince people that it's real. And who do you have to convince? You have to convince other people who are on the fence about coming out, right?
Right,
You have to convince the authoritarians
right,
because you want to try to brush them back and get them to reconsider what they're doing.
right,
And the other people you gotta convince are the accommodationists. And so what you want Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, who think that the best thing for their business is to just go along with Trump because it won't make anybody mad. You
right.
need to show them, actually, there is a huge body of people who could be mad at you for accommodating. And so instead of accommodating with Trump, you wanna, again, just push them back to neutral. That's and,
Yes,
you want them to look at Tesla's stock price and think, "Shit, we don't want that to happen to us." Right? And they're never gonna be
yeah,
with you. They're never gonna be with you. They're only gonna be with what they
right.
think can make them money. But you do wanna show them that, like, "Oh, hey, there could be a price to be paid for seeming like we are too much on Trump's side."
Exactly. And that's a really, 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 really good point is make them understand that this is not a business winning situation, right? This is a business
Yeah, and they don't get a
losing
free
situation.
pass from the people who hate Trump.
Right.
Right? That's the thing. Because right
Um,
now they think they get a free pass from them, right? They think the
yeah,
only person who will hurt us is Trump. They need to be shown that consumers will also
that
hurt them.
there's yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really important. And we've seen that with Target, right? Target had people boycotted Target's anti-DEI, which really is like pro-racism. And we're gonna stop doing anti-racism stuff. The math on that only goes one way. Use these events to organize the resistance into a mass movement, then it can be called into action.
Yeah. And that's what I said. You wanna turn them into action. And really, this has all gotta build to a head, right? I mean, what is the next objective? The objective in front of us is really the midterm elections,
Right.
and those aren't enough. Like, if the Democrats take control of one of the houses of the legislature, that isn't enough, but it's a start, and it's a necessary precondition. Because without it, like, I don't even know what the rest of the term looks like. If
No, I
Republicans
don't
maintain
either.
unified
Yeah,
control
we're
all the way through.
completely screwed.
Right.
One of the things that's very interesting in this list, politicize everything, attack
Yeah.
authoritarians for every bad thing that happens anywhere in the world, flood the zone. Interesting, and I think correct, and also what they have been doing the entire Biden administration. Discuss.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a strain of strategic thinking, which is like, oh, you don't want to rise to the bait. You want to keep your
Right,
powder dry. You want to wait for good ground.
right,
I I am open to that, being the right strategy, but it hasn't looked to me like it has paid off. And
Yeah,
it seems to me that
exactly.
the opposition should be much more opportunistic. And any bad thing that happens anywhere should be the fault of Republicans,
Right.
right? I mean, if a dog gets, your favorite dog gets killed crossing the street, that should somehow be Donald Trump's fault.
Well,
I
and
don't
that's
I
what
don't mean
Trump
that
has.
literally, but
Right, but that's
this is what Trump does, right?
right, and that's the
And
Republican. I mean, basically, in the entire Obama 2 terms was like, why did Obama do this? You
right.
know,
And
and it. Go on.
yeah, I just want to say this is people like me, and including actually me, have spent like 10 years tearing their hair out saying, how does he get away with this? Like he does this horrible thing. And then we just, we should be investigating it for 3 months. And instead,
Right,
after 12 hours, he does some new horrible thing.
right,
And at some point, you just have to embrace that, I think, and understand
yeah,
that that is the world we live in and say, okay, well, you know what? We're going to do that too.
yeah,
And, what's the new story, the new horrible thing that the administration did? Great. We're going to make that thing famous today. And then there'll be another new horrible thing tomorrow. And we'll do that
yeah.
then too. And just be relentless about it.
Elevate the corruption and graft in a way that pits the billionaires against the forgotten man. This seems really, really, really important, and I don't understand why there isn't more of this happening. And explain it to us.
Yeah, well, this is again the Navalny thing, right? Navalny, tons and tons of corruption stuff. That was his bread and
Right,
butter.
right.
And
The video about Putin's house, right? Putin's
right,
secret
yeah, yeah,
palace.
the
That
dacha,
was
right?
like, and like a crazy numbers and
I wonder if that'll be effective in America. America has a weird thing about rich people where
yeah,
we both hate the rich people, but also we want to imagine that we're going to be super rich soon
yeah,
too. And so,
yeah,
uh, but I think the corruption is just worth talking about, right? Corruption is an endemic and effective and salient thing in American
mhm,
politics and always has been. And so I think pointing out the corruption, pointing out the, not I would say lean maybe a little bit less away from eat the rich and a little more to look at these guys getting fat off of the government.
yeah,
And I think that is likely to be salient. Now, I'm the sort of, I'm getting to eat the rich.
right,
I'm not there. I'm not there already, but
right.
Elon Musk is getting me there. But I think the corruption part of this is the key.
Well, Greg Caesar, I think that's his name, a member of Congress who has been touring with this group but is not as famous, was talking about how Elon Musk makes $9 million a day on
Hmm.
government contracts. He's fighting about sort of Social Security payments, Medicaid, Medicare, and like your grandmother, whether she's going to get $76 or $74.
Right.
And that perhaps this should be a sign of where we are.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, the other aspect to this is that I mean, Elon Musk, I think, is a very soft target because he's
Yeah.
so weird and unlikable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Donald Trump, whatever you want to say about it, there is a certain type of charm that he has.
Right. I'm making the X.
Not
Did you
yeah,
see I
not
made the X?
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw it. I liked it. Not Elon. And so, I again, if Elon Musk becomes the stand-in and the face of like all oligarchs, that's good.
Yeah. It seems good. I mean, okay, so let's talk about this. When the moment is right, bring this movement to the Capitol for a show of strength.
Yeah.
What is the moment?
I think you have to wait till you are within striking distance of the midterm election.
Right.
And you don't want to do it too soon. You want it to be high salience. And I think you really do want to put like 2 million people on the streets of either New York or DC.
Right.
And that becomes both a show of strength and a provocation to the regime. And as we've seen this weekend, did you see the Wired story about the Tesla takedowns that have now brought out
Of
counter protesters?
mhm.
And the counter protesters or the pro-Teslas are the worst people in the world. They're Proud Boys and a guy who dresses
Right.
up like Hitler and militia
Oof.
dudes, the
Yeah.
type of thing that, like, you want far away from your brand. No
Yes.
matter what it is you're selling, you do not
Right.
want those people, like, as your brand evangelists.
Right.
And, And so that will be part of the mass movement, right? You want a mass
Right.
movement that basically looks like America, a bunch of middle class people and just normies.
Yeah.
And then you want to bring out the militia types against them, right?
Right.
And bring out the Proud Boys.
Right.
You want it to present that contrast. But I think you don't want to do it too soon. And you want to make sure you have maps because this is the other thing. And I I feel very, very uncomfortable talking about this stuff because it is pretty clear that Donald Trump is itching to turn American military or law enforcement forces against American civilians.
He's
I mean, this is
I
like a
mean,
wet
he
dream of
tried
his.
to in his first term. It
Right.
doesn't yeah.
I mean, I just don't think we should be under any illusions that anybody who shows up anywhere in America to be part of these things, like that is on the table.
Yeah.
I don't fault anybody who looks at that and says, I can't do it because I've got other obligations, right? I mean, there's a reason these things are often led by students and young people, and it's because they have fewer people depending on them, right? They're not
Yeah.
parents. They
Yeah.
and because they have less to lose and more to gain because they
Yeah.
are going to live for another 60 years.
Yeah.
Somebody 60 could say, "Oh, I'll ride this out. 15 years and I'm out," right?
Yeah.
Um, and plus I've got to
15
take care of my
years.
kids. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, based on the actuarial tables, Molly.
But
Just being
based
real.
on, the last Trump presidency, if we make it to 75. But I think that's a really good point, and I think that what you're saying is right. The one thing that I have been impressed by that I just wanted to get in there with the Bernie AOC, meetups, which I think are really important, is that we're also seeing like Maxwell Frost and Chris Murphy and other figures go around and do them. And I think that's really important. And also, where they're doing these town halls where the Republicans won't do the town halls, so the Democrats go and do them. I think that also is really, really important. And I think it speaks to this same idea that you are saying if your Republicans won't do government the way it's supposed to do, we Democrats will.
Yeah. This is the fundamental contradiction here, and the thing which makes me more nervous than anything else. My best friend Sarah Longwell, Sarah from the Bulwark.
I think I've
Uh,
heard of her.
yeah, we have had like an ongoing fight for 6 years, and our fight is me saying the people are the problem, and by which I mean Donald Trump is a symptom, not a cause. I mean he's both, but he's a symptom. You know, the American people voted for this. They wanted this. The people are the
And
problem,
and if you read
and
America Last, it basically just builds right up to it, that book,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, but Sarah says the duality here is that the people are also the solution.
Right.
And that tension and that duality makes me very uncomfortable. And honestly, I don't know how to live with it. And I don't know. I am deeply ambivalent about whether any of this works. I do not know how
Right.
the story ends. And it's because of that. It's because the people are both the problem and the solution.
John
And I don't know
Last.
what we're supposed to do with
Jonathan
that.
Last, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Really so helpful and important, and thank you.
Good to see you, friend.